Ladies and gentlemen, hear me today. The greatest power God ever gave to a human being was not the power to rule others. It was the power to rule yourself. Self-government. The ability to manage your own mind, your own emotions, your own internal world. You were never created to be a slave to your feelings. You were not designed to be controlled by fear, anger, irritation, or insecurity. You were created to have dominion, but that dominion begins within, not without. If you cannot lead you, you cannot lead anything else. If you cannot control your own emotions, you cannot control your decisions. And if you cannot control your decisions, then your destiny will always be at the mercy of circumstance. Everything God gave you, your potential, your purpose, your future, depends on this one foundational principle: the government of your own soul. Most people want influence, but they have no self-control. They want success, but they have no discipline. They want to manage organizations, nations, ministries, but they cannot manage their own reaction in a moment of pressure. They can't govern their thoughts, they can't regulate their feelings, and yet they wonder why life seems unstable. Let me tell you something very important. Your emotions were never meant to be your ruler. They were meant to be your servants. Emotions are wonderful employees, but they are terrible masters. When your emotions take the throne, your life becomes a kingdom in chaos. But when your mind takes the throne, when the spirit man takes the seat of authority, then everything else in your life begins to align under order. God never gave you the power to control people. He never gave you the right to control circumstances. What He gave you was the power to control your response to those circumstances. He gave you the power to govern your thinking, because your thinking produces your feeling, and your feeling produces your action. So the battle is never out there. The battle is always in here, in the invisible arena of the human soul. And hear this principle: you cannot manage your destiny if you cannot manage your emotions. Your emotional instability is the greatest enemy of your future. Not the economy, not the government, not your job, not your enemies, but your inability to govern your own inner world. I discovered something many years ago. Who you become in life is not determined by the storms you face, but by the governor within you when the storm arrives. Life doesn't destroy you, your reaction to life does. Pressure doesn't break you, your response to pressure does. People don't derail your calling. Your inability to master your emotions in the presence of people does. That is why God gave you a mind capable of decision, a spirit capable of discernment, a will capable of restraint, and emotions capable of obedience. You are not a creature of impulse. You are a creature of intention. You are a product of design. And everything God designed, He designed for dominion. Starting with the dominion of your internal environment. So today, I want you to hear this as if heaven itself is speaking. If you want to rise, if you want to lead, if you want to fulfill your destiny, you must take your rightful position as the governor of your own mind. You must sit on the throne of your internal world. You must declare order where there's been chaos, discipline where there has been carelessness, decision where there has been reaction. You are the custodian of your emotions. You are the steward of your thoughts. You are the manager of your mental environment. And until you learn the principle of self-government, every other form of leadership will fail. This is the foundation of everything we will discuss. The journey to emotional mastery is not the pursuit of numbness. It is the pursuit of governance. Not suppression, but stewardship. Not denial, but dominion. Because hear me, you cannot rule a kingdom if you cannot rule your own soul. And the most difficult territory you will ever conquer is the territory inside your own mind. Today, we begin the journey of reclaiming that authority. Now listen carefully, because this next truth is one of the most important principles of the kingdom you will ever learn. The mind, your mind is not a random container. It is not an accident. It is not simply a biological organ. Your mind is a kingdom territory entrusted to you by God Himself, and you are the appointed governor over that territory. Your mind is your garden, and God never plants gardens without giving instructions for cultivation. In Genesis, the very first assignment God gave man was to tend and keep the garden. That command was not about agriculture, it was about responsibility. It was about management. It was about governance over an environment. And ladies and gentlemen, that environment begins inside you before it ever appears outside of you. Your external life is simply the harvest of your internal garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. Your emotions are the rain. Your decisions are the soil. And your habits are the climate that determines what grows. If you plant fear, you will harvest anxiety. If you plant bitterness, you will harvest isolation. If you plant doubt, you will harvest limitation. If you plant anger, you will harvest broken relationships. But if you plant purpose, you will harvest direction. If you plant gratitude, you will harvest peace. If you plant discipline, you will harvest stability. If you plant vision, you will harvest destiny. The mind is not passive. It does not sit idly waiting for life to decide what enters. Your mind is active, powerful, creative, and fertile. And whatever you sow into it consistently will grow, whether you like it or not. That is why I tell people everywhere I go, your life never changes until your mind changes. Your circumstances may shift, your environment may shift, but until the soil of your mind is cultivated, nothing will truly change. God built your mind to respond to seeds. Every thought is a seed. Every word spoken to you is a seed. Every memory, every image, every voice, seed, seed, seed. Your mind receives them, nurtures them, waters them, and eventually produces a harvest in your behavior. That is why the enemy does not attack your job first. He does not attack your finances first. He does not attack your relationships first. The first battlefield is your mind. Because if he can control your thoughts, he can predict your emotions. If he can influence your emotions, he can direct your decisions. And if he can direct your decisions, he can determine your destiny. This is why emotional control begins with thought control, not feeling control. Your feelings are not the root, they are the fruit. The root is always your thinking. So the question is not, why do I feel this way? The real question is, what thought did I allow to plant this emotion in my garden? Because emotions do not appear randomly. They grow from something. And if you do not guard your mind, you will spend your entire life fighting harvests you never intended to plant. Ladies and gentlemen, the mind is the most valuable real estate God has given you. It is more valuable than land, more valuable than houses, more valuable than money. Why? Because everything God gives you in life, ideas, vision, solutions, dreams, must first be processed through the mind. And yet, most people leave their minds unguarded, unprotected, and uncultivated. They allow toxic opinions to grow like weeds. They allow negative voices to drop seeds. They allow fear to take root. They allow the world to sow confusion, doubt, and insecurity. Then they wonder why their emotions are unstable. Listen to me. You are the groundskeeper of your mental garden. You are responsible for what grows in it. You are responsible for removing weeds of destructive thoughts. You are responsible for cultivating thoughts that align with your purpose and destiny. God will not weed your garden for you. He gave you the authority. He gave you the assignment. He gave you the territory of your mind and said, tend it, keep it, guard it, protect it. Because whatever grows in your mind will grow in your emotions. Whatever grows in your emotions will grow in your behavior. And whatever grows in your behavior will shape the entire landscape of your life. Your mind is sacred. Your thoughts are powerful. And emotional stability is impossible until you learn to manage the garden God entrusted to you. Your mind is not a battlefield for the enemy. It is a kingdom for you to rule. And many people do not lose the fight of life because they lack skill or opportunity. They lose because they never governed the only territory they were guaranteed to possess, their inner world. So today, I challenge you, take back your garden. Weed out the lies. Uproot the fear. Replant purpose. Cultivate discipline. Guard your mind with all diligence, because your emotions can only be as stable as the thoughts you allow to grow. This is the kingdom concept of the mind. This is emotional dominion. This is self-government at its foundation. Now hear me carefully, because this next truth explains why many people, even good people, even gifted people, even spiritual people, live life beneath their potential. It is not because they lack intelligence. It is not because they lack opportunity. It is not because they lack good intentions. No, the reason many people lose their way is because they have lost dominion over their inner world. Let me tell you something that may shock you. The greatest crisis in humanity is not war. It is not poverty. It is not disease. The greatest crisis in humanity is the collapse of emotional self-government. People are not destroyed by what happens to them. They are destroyed by what happens in them when life reacts. The tragedy of modern society is that we have mastered technology, we have mastered information, we have mastered entertainment, but we have not mastered ourselves. We know how to operate machines, but we cannot operate our own emotions. We know how to build cities, but we cannot build our own stability. We know how to conquer the world, but we cannot conquer our own impulses. Ladies and gentlemen, emotional chaos is not a condition, it is a symptom. It is the evidence of a fallen inner government. When Adam fell, he did not just lose Eden, he lost internal order. He lost clarity of thought. He lost stability of emotion. He lost the ability to process fear, shame, and pressure with authority. He hid, he panicked, he blamed. Why? Because the first thing sin attacked was the stability of the mind. And that same pattern happens to people today. When you lose emotional dominion, confusion enters. When you lose emotional dominion, fear becomes louder. When you lose emotional dominion, offense grows faster. When you lose emotional dominion, your reactions become your rulers. Some of you are not reacting to people, you are reacting to wounds you never healed. You are not responding to the moment, you are responding to memories that were never addressed. You are not dealing with the present, you are dealing with the unprocessed seeds of the past. When the garden of the mind is not governed, weeds always take over. And weeds don't need permission, they only need neglect. Neglect your mind and fear takes root. Neglect your mind and anxiety spreads. Neglect your mind and insecurity multiplies. Neglect your mind and offense grows like vines choking your destiny. People lose emotional control for several reasons, and I want to expose these today so you can reclaim what was lost. Is one. The first reason, overexposure to chaos. You were not created to digest constant noise, constant drama, constant pressure, constant negativity. Your spirit becomes overwhelmed. Your mind becomes overloaded. And an overloaded mind cannot govern emotions. It collapses under the weight. Two. The second reason, a broken or unclear identity. When a person does not know who they are, they react to everything. They react to opinions. They react to criticism. They react to rejection. They react to misunderstanding. A confused identity always produces unstable emotions, because emotion responds to identity before it responds to circumstances. Three, the third reason, toxic associations. Show me the people you listen to, and I will show you the condition of your emotional life. Wrong voices sow wrong seeds. Wrong influence creates wrong reactions. Your emotional state is often a reflection of the people you surround yourself with. Four. The fourth reason, unhealed trauma. Emotional pain that is not healed becomes emotional power that controls you. Unresolved wounds become triggers. Old hurts become active buttons anyone can push. You are not reacting to the moment, you are reacting to the scar beneath the moment. Five. The fifth reason, absence of vision. When you lack direction, your emotions lead instead of follow. When you lack purpose, feelings dictate decisions. When you lack clarity, reactions take the wheel. Vision is the anchor that keeps your emotional world steady. Ladies and gentlemen, emotional instability is not a weakness, it is a violation of kingdom order. You were created to live under divine structure, not under the dictatorship of feelings, not under the tyranny of impulses, not under the manipulation of circumstances. Let me say something very strong. If your emotions can control you, anybody can control you. All the enemy has to do is stir your feelings, and he can stir your life. He can distract you with offense. He can derail you with frustration. He can sidetrack you with fear. He can imprison you with shame. He doesn't need to touch your finances. He touches your emotions and your entire world collapses. So I ask you today, how did you lose control of the territory God gave you? Where did the walls of your inner government break? Which weeds did you allow to grow without resistance? Whose voice did you give authority to? Which moment did you react to instead of process through? Because emotional dominion is not lost overnight. It is lost through neglect, through silence, through lack of attention to the inner world. But here is the good news. Whatever was lost through neglect can be restored through awareness. Whatever was destroyed by confusion can be rebuilt by truth. Whatever was damaged by the past can be healed by revelation. And whatever territory the enemy captured can be reclaimed by kingdom authority. The fall of emotional dominion is not permanent. It is simply the starting point from which you rise again. And today we are taking back the crown of your internal government. Now listen closely, because this is one of the deepest truths you will ever hear about emotional control. You will never master your emotions until you first master your identity. Identity is the foundation of emotional stability. If you do not know who you are, everything that happens to you feels personal. Every word offends you. Every setback discourages you. Every correction wounds you. Every challenge intimidates you. Every delay frustrates you. Why? Because without identity, emotions interpret life through insecurity instead of purpose. Emotion follows identity. Reaction follows perception. Behavior follows belief. So the question is not, why do I feel this way? The real question is, who do I believe I am in this moment? Ladies and gentlemen, when you forget who you are, your emotions take the throne. When you remember who you are, your emotions bow to your authority. Let me say it another way. Your emotions are not the reflection of your circumstances. They are the reflection of your identity in those circumstances. If you see yourself as a victim, you will respond with fear. If you see yourself as rejected, you will respond with insecurity. If you see yourself as powerless, you will respond with anger or despair. But if you see yourself as a child of the King, if you see yourself as a citizen of the kingdom, if you see yourself as a person of purpose and destiny, your response becomes royal, disciplined, intentional, and composed. Identity is the lens through which your emotions interpret the world. Let me show you how powerful this is. Jesus is in a boat, sleeping in a storm. The disciples are panicking, screaming, shaking him awake. Master, don't you care that we are perishing? They were reacting to the storm, but Jesus was responding from identity. He did not panic. He did not scream. He did not worry. Why? Because he knew who he was. His identity determined his posture. His posture determined his emotions. His emotions determined his response. And his response determined the environment. Identity, posture, emotion, response, atmosphere. That is the kingdom sequence. But most people live the opposite way. Environment, reaction, emotion, confusion, identity, crisis. That is why the world is unstable. Because people do not live from identity, they live from emotion. You must understand this principle. Identity is the birthplace of emotional dominion. Until you know who you are, your emotions will always be louder than your purpose. When you know who you are, criticism no longer breaks you. Pressure no longer shakes you. Fear no longer stops you. And offense no longer binds you. Identity creates internal gravity. It anchors you when life tries to pull you apart. It stabilizes your emotions when the situation becomes unstable. It gives you clarity when your feelings try to confuse you. And the enemy knows this. That is why his first attack is always identity. Before he steals your joy, he shakes your identity. Before he manipulates your emotions, he questions your identity. Before he tempts your decisions, he distorts your identity. Who do you think you are? You are not enough. You're a failure. You'll never succeed. You're too broken. You're too flawed. You're too insecure. Why does he whisper these things? Because he knows something you often forget. A confused identity creates uncontrolled emotions. If the devil can weaken your identity, he can strengthen your reactions. If he can distort your identity, he can destabilize your emotions. If he can separate you from who you truly are, he can separate you from what you are called to do. So let me declare this kingdom truth into your spirit today. You are not your emotions. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fear. You are not your insecurity. You are not the labels people place on you. You are not the failures that try to define you. You are who God says you are. A citizen of his kingdom, a child of his purpose, a vessel of his spirit, a steward of his authority, a ruler of your internal world. Once you see yourself correctly, you feel correctly. Once you feel correctly, you respond correctly. Once you respond correctly, you live correctly. Identity produces emotional order. So today, I challenge you to return to your original identity. Return to the image in which you were created. Return to the purpose for which you were designed. Return to the authority God gave you in the beginning. Return to the kingdom mindset that stabilizes your inner world. Because when identity stands up inside you, emotions sit down. This is why the kingdom attitude always begins with this declaration. I know who I am. Therefore I know how to feel. Therefore I know how to respond. Identity before emotion. Purpose before reaction. Spirit before feelings. Clarity before chaos. This is the secret to emotional dominion. This is the beginning of self-government. This is the posture of a kingdom citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, every great kingdom is built on laws. A kingdom does not run on emotions. It does not run on opinions. It does not run on feelings. A kingdom operates on laws, principles that function whether you believe them or not. And if you are a citizen of the kingdom of God, you cannot master your emotions until you understand the laws that govern the mind. Because emotional stability is not a mystery. It is the result of alignment with divine principle. I want to give you 4 kingdom laws, unchanging, immovable, eternal, that when you learn them, will immediately elevate your emotional control to a level you have never experienced. These laws do not ask your permission. They do not adjust to your mood. They do not shift with culture. They operate with or without your agreement. But once you understand them, once you cooperate with them, you will gain a level of internal power that cannot be manipulated by people, pressure, or problems. Let us begin. LAW has shown the law of focus. What you fix your mind on expands in your life. Hear this. Your emotions follow your attention. Where the mind goes, the emotions go. Whatever you consistently focus on, you magnify. Whatever you meditate on, you feel. Whatever you give attention to, you empower. People say, my emotions are out of control, but emotions are not uncontrollable. They are simply responding to the thoughts you have allowed to dominate your focus. If you focus on problems, you feel overwhelmed. If you focus on offense, you feel bitter. If you focus on what you lost, you feel defeated. If you focus on fear, you feel anxious. Focus is the fuel of emotion. This is why the Bible says, set your mind on things above. Why? Because whatever your mind is set on, your emotions settle into. When you fix your mind on purpose, your emotions align with purpose. When you fix your mind on truth, your emotions align with stability. When you fix your mind on vision, your emotions align with strength. Your emotional world is simply the echo of your mental focus. Law #2, the law of agreement. Your emotions obey the thoughts you accept as true. This is one of the most important laws you will ever learn. Emotions do not arise from what you hear, they arise from what you agree with. You can hear a lie and feel nothing. You can hear criticism and feel nothing. You can hear fear-filled words and remain calm if you do not agree with them. Agreement is the birthplace of emotion. If you agree with a thought of fear, your emotion becomes fear. If you agree with a thought of shame, your emotion becomes shame. If you agree with a thought of inadequacy, your emotion becomes insecurity. The devil cannot control your emotions, but he tries to manipulate your agreement because he knows emotional power comes from mental consent. Let me tell you something strong. The emotion you feel is the evidence of the belief you accepted. You can break an emotional pattern instantly by rejecting the thought that fuels it. Don't fight the emotion. Withdraw your agreement from the lie that created it. This is kingdom dominion. Law #3, the law of environment. Your emotions reflect the climate you live in. Your environment is not neutral. It is shaping you whether you realize it or not. Your emotions are constantly responding to the voices you listen to, the conversations you entertain, the media you consume, the atmosphere you live in, the people you allow around you. Let me tell you a kingdom truth. You cannot keep a peaceful mind in a chaotic environment. You cannot maintain emotional discipline in toxic surroundings. You cannot remain stable while living among unstable people. Your environment is the incubator of your emotions. Show me your closest relationships and I can predict your emotional patterns. Show me your daily input and I can predict your internal climate. If you surround yourself with complainers, you will feel discouraged. If you surround yourself with fearful people, you will feel anxious. If you surround yourself with angry people, you will feel reactive. But if you surround yourself with visionaries, you will feel inspired. If you surround yourself with disciplined people, you will feel strengthened. If you surround yourself with kingdom thinkers, you will feel elevated. Your environment either reinforces your emotional dominion or erodes it. Law #4, the law of discipline. What you do daily shapes your emotional identity. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is training. Discipline is structure. Discipline is ordering your life so your mind becomes stronger than your feelings. Emotional control is not achieved by trying harder. It is achieved by practicing daily mental habits that retrain your emotional responses. Let me give you the kingdom revelation. Discipline turns emotional chaos into emotional consistency. A person who lacks discipline will always be ruled by feelings. A person who establishes discipline will always govern feelings. This is why Jesus rose early to pray. Not because God needed prayer, but because he needed alignment. He disciplined his mind so his emotions would obey his mission. If your morning is chaotic, your emotions will be chaotic. If your daily habits are inconsistent, your emotions will be inconsistent. Discipline is the bridge between emotional weakness and emotional mastery. Every time you rise early, you strengthen your mind. Every time you meditate on purpose, you redirect your emotions. Every time you silence distractions, you reinforce internal government. Every time you practice restraint, you elevate your character. Consistency creates stability. Stability creates clarity. Clarity creates dominion. This is emotional mastery. Now hear this summation. Focus directs your emotions. Agreement empowers your emotions. Environment shapes your emotions. Discipline trains your emotions. These 4 laws work together to build an inner government so strong that nothing outside you can overthrow the throne inside you. When you obey these laws, your emotions stop being storms and start becoming servants of your destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, pressure is not your enemy. Pressure is your exam. Pressure is the test that reveals whether you are governing your internal world or whether the world is governing you. Anybody can smile in comfort. Anybody can be peaceful when everything is predictable. Anybody can feel stable when nothing is shaking. Emotional control is never proven in calm waters. It is revealed in storms. Storms are the audit of your inner government. They expose whether your emotions are sitting on the throne or whether your kingdom identity is ruling instead. Hear me. Pressure does not create character. Pressure reveals character. Pressure does not create emotional chaos. Pressure exposes the chaos already inside. Pressure does not create stability. Pressure confirms stability. You don't rise to the level of your feelings in difficult moments. You fall to the level of your internal structure. This is why Jesus remains the greatest model of emotional dominion ever demonstrated. He was calm in situations where everyone else panicked. He was composed in environments where everyone else collapsed. He was clear when everyone else was confused. His calm was not the result of circumstances. His calm was the result of identity, of focus, of inner government. Look at the story in the Gospels. A storm hits the boat. Waves are crashing. Wind is roaring. Seasoned fishermen, men who grew up on the water, are trembling with fear. But Jesus is asleep, resting, unaffected, unbothered. Why? Because the storm outside could not move the peace inside. He was not reacting to the environment. He was ruling it. And here is the revelation. The calm inside you has more power than the storm around you. Your emotions do not rise or fall based on circumstances. Your emotions rise or fall based on who sits on the throne of your mind when the circumstance arrives. Jesus demonstrated kingdom emotional dominion. He woke up, looked at the storm, and spoke from identity, not fear. Peace, be still. He did not shout in panic. He did not negotiate with the storm. He did not react emotionally. He responded with authority. Emotions react. Identity responds. People who lose control under pressure do so because they have not learned the kingdom principle. You must still the storm within before you can still the storm around. If you wait for life to calm down before you calm down, you will live your entire life in emotional slavery. Storms do not stop so you can find peace. You find peace so you can stop storms. Let me teach you this powerful kingdom truth. Pressure magnifies whatever you have been cultivating in your mind. If you have cultivated fear, pressure exposes it. If you have cultivated insecurity, pressure reveals it. If you have cultivated anger, pressure exaggerates it. If you have cultivated discipline, pressure strengthens it. If you have cultivated identity, pressure solidifies it. Pressure is the microphone of your inner life. It amplifies what is already present. This is why the Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence. Why? Because when life shakes you, whatever's in your heart spills out. When you understand the laws of the kingdom, when you live by the principles we discussed earlier, when you govern your mind like the garden God entrusted to you, then storms stop being threats. They become platforms. Pressure becomes purpose. Obstacles become opportunities. Tests become testimonies. Storms become classrooms for leadership. A kingdom-minded person does not run from storms. They rule in storms. You don't control storms. You control yourself in storms. And because you control yourself, the storm loses its power to control you. Let me give you the principle that will change your life forever. The storm around you can never sink you. Only the storm within you can. When your emotions are stable, pressure cannot break you. When your mind is governed, challenges cannot shake you. When your identity is strong, criticism cannot wound you. When your vision is clear, delays cannot discourage you. Peace is the posture of a person who has mastered emotional government. And peace is not the absence of trouble. Peace is the presence of order. Peace is the fruit of alignment. Peace is the evidence of self-government. Peace is the signature of kingdom authority. The kingdom citizen does not wait for life to become easy. They become strong. They become steady. They become rooted. They become internally unshakable. Your calm is your weapon. Your stability is your strength. Your composure is your victory. Because when you remain calm under pressure, you reveal who is truly in control. Not your emotions, not your circumstances, not your feelings, but the Spirit of God within you. This is the kingdom approach to pressure. Remain calm in storms, and storms will respect your authority. Ladies and gentlemen, emotional mastery is not accidental. It is intentional. It is practiced. It is cultivated. And one of the greatest tools God ever gave mankind for governing the inner world is pause. Not silence, not suppression, not avoidance. Pause. The kingdom citizen learns to build a holy delay between the stimulus and the response, between what happens to you and how you choose to react. Because the most dangerous moment in your entire life is the moment between what you feel and what you decide. Most people lose the battle of the mind because they let their emotions speak before their wisdom wakes up. They allow their reaction to outrun their revelation. They allow impulse to outrun intention. And so God, in His wisdom, built into your humanity a small window, a sacred window where you can regain dominion before emotion takes the throne. I call it the 3-second kingdom pause. 3 seconds that can protect your reputation. 3 seconds that can save your marriage. 3 seconds that can preserve your destiny. 3 seconds that can keep you from saying what you will regret for 30 years. The difference between emotional chaos and emotional control is often just 3 seconds. In the kingdom, those 3 seconds are not empty time. They are filled with intentional leadership. They follow a simple, powerful, transformative sequence. Stop, see, submit. Let me break it down. 1. Stop. Interrupt the emotional impulse before it becomes action. The first second is the second of interruption. This is when you arrest the rising wave of emotion before it escapes through your words or your behavior. Most people do not lose control because the emotion is too strong. They lose control because they never stop long enough to take authority over it. The kingdom citizen learns to say to their own soul, stop, pause, hold still. This is self-government in action. This is you stepping onto the throne of your own mind and saying, I am in charge here, not the emotion. Stopping is not weakness, it is strength. Stopping is not surrender, it is strategy. Stopping is not hesitation, it is governance. The first second is where you prevent the storm inside from becoming a storm outside. 2. See, remember who you are, what you carry, and where you are going. The second is the second of identity. In this moment, you must see. Not the offense, not the pressure, not the insult, not the provocation, not the problem. You must see your identity, your purpose, your calling, your future. This is the moment when you remind yourself, I am a kingdom citizen. I am a person of destiny. I am bigger than this moment. I do not react like the world reacts. I will not let temporary emotions sabotage eternal purpose. See the bigger picture. See beyond the feeling. See beyond the moment. Because when identity comes into view, emotions fall into order. When purpose becomes clear, reactions become controlled. When vision rises, impulses sink. The second is when clarity arrests chaos. 3. Submit. Choose the response that aligns with who you are becoming. The third second is the second of lordship. This is when you do not submit to the emotion. You submit the emotion to the Spirit of God within you. This is when you say, not my feelings, but my purpose. Not my reaction, but my identity. Not my impulse, but my assignment. Submission is not weakness. Submission is choosing the higher version of yourself. Submission is letting your purpose speak louder than your pain. Submission is allowing the kingdom within you to rule the circumstance before you. In this final second, you choose. The word that builds, not destroys. The silence that protects, not provokes. The response that aligns, not derails. The attitude that reflects the kingdom, not the chaos. This is when you act from authority, not emotion. From principle, not pressure. From identity, not insecurity. From wisdom, not impulse. The third second is where destiny is preserved. The power of these 3 seconds. 3 seconds of internal leadership can save you from emotional regret, relational damage, unnecessary conflict, reputational loss, impulsive decisions, spiritual setbacks, personal embarrassment, destiny, sabotage. 3 seconds can rescue a conversation. 3 seconds can break a generational pattern. 3 seconds can transform who you are becoming. The world says, speak your mind. The kingdom says, govern your mind. The world says, follow your feelings. The kingdom says, lead your feelings. The world says, act now, think later. The kingdom says, think first, then act with wisdom. Those 3 seconds are where emotional mastery is born. Those 3 seconds are where self-government is practiced. Those 3 seconds are where you reclaim the throne of your inner world. A person who uses the 3-second kingdom pause becomes unshakable, untouchable, unmanipulable, emotionally stable, spiritually sensitive, mentally disciplined, purpose-driven, internally governed. The 3-second pause is not a technique. It is a kingdom mindset. It is a leadership posture. It is a spiritual weapon. It is a protective gate around your destiny. Your future is preserved in those 3 seconds. Your character is revealed in those 3 seconds. Your leadership is strengthened in those 3 seconds. Master the pause, and you will master your emotions. Master your emotions, and you will master your life. Ladies and gentlemen, if you truly want to master your emotions, you must understand this next principle. Emotions do not submit to willpower, they submit to vision. Vision is the dictator of discipline. Purpose is the governor of feelings. And destiny is the anchor of emotional stability. Most people are emotionally unstable for one reason. They are living without vision. Where there is no vision, emotions become loud. Where there is no purpose, feelings become powerful. Where there is no direction, impulses take control. When a person does not know where they are going, every small irritation distracts them. When a person does not know who they are becoming, every offense derails them. When a person does not know why they exist, every emotional wave knocks them off course. But when you have vision, when you have purpose, when you know your assignment, when you understand your destiny, everything changes. Vision stabilizes emotions the way a foundation stabilizes a building. This is a kingdom truth. You cannot be easily shaken when you are focused on something greater than the moment. Let me say it another way. The clearer your vision, the quieter your emotions. Emotional reactions become small when purpose becomes big. Feelings lose influence when destiny gains weight. Impulses weaken when vision strengthens. You cannot be offended easily when you are busy pursuing your assignment. You cannot be distracted easily when you are committed to your calling. You cannot be manipulated easily when you know where you are going. Vision makes you emotionally intelligent. Purpose makes you emotionally disciplined. Destiny makes you emotionally untouchable. Hear me. Vision is the thermostat of emotional stability. Without vision, your emotions set the temperature of your life. With vision, you set the temperature for your emotions. This is why great leaders do not waste emotional energy on petty things. They are too focused, too mandated, too driven, too conscious of their assignment to allow momentary feelings to sabotage eternal purpose. Emotional chaos is the lifestyle of a person living without direction. Emotional discipline is the lifestyle of a person living with purpose. The more you pursue your vision, the more your emotions adapt to your calling. Your emotions begin to learn. This is where we are going. This is who we are becoming. This is the life we are building. And they begin to align. Vision trains your emotions. Purpose educates your feelings. Destiny teaches your heart how to behave. This is why God gave you vision before He gave you visibility. He gave you purpose before He gave you platforms. He gave you assignment before He gave you influence. He wanted your emotional life to be anchored in calling, not applause. In destiny, not reactions. In identity, not circumstances. Let me show you how this works. When you have vision, you don't respond to insults because you're too focused on impact. You don't react to rejection because you're too invested in destiny. You don't collapse under pressure because your mission is bigger than your moment. You don't give up because of emotion, because purpose speaks louder than pain. Vision gives you emotional endurance. It gives you emotional resilience. It gives you emotional immunity. This is why Paul said, none of these things move me. How can a man say that? Not because he had no emotions, but because his mission was bigger than the emotions. When purpose stands tall in your life, emotions kneel. This is why you must discover your vision. You must clarify your purpose. You must pursue your assignment. You must live with intention. Because emotional mastery is not a technique. It is the byproduct of a purposeful life. Purpose makes you patient. Vision makes you focused. Destiny makes you stable. Some of you don't need emotional healing. You need emotional direction. Your emotions are not broken. They are unassigned. Give them a purpose and they will find their place. When you know why you exist, you stop giving energy to what does not matter. You stop wasting reactions on people who have no place in your future. You stop allowing temporary emotions to negotiate long-term purpose. Let me declare this kingdom principle over you. Your feelings should not lead your life. Your vision should. Emotions are not designed to be captains. They are designed to be passengers. Purpose is the captain. Destiny is the compass. Vision is the sail. Identity is the anchor. And emotions was right in the back, not in the front. When you live this way, you become a force, calm, focused, unstoppable. Your emotional world becomes ordered by divine intention, guided by kingdom identity, and governed by destiny. This is emotional control through vision and purpose. This is how kingdom leaders are formed. This is how destiny is protected. This is how storms lose their power. When vision rises, emotions submit. Ladies and gentlemen, emotional strength is not a gift. It is a requirement. It is not optional. It is foundational. It is not something you stumble into. It is something you grow into. And hear me, every true leader in the kingdom must develop emotional strength. Leadership is not about titles. Leadership is not about crowds. Leadership is not about microphones or platforms. Leadership is first and foremost about the ability to manage yourself for the benefit of others. A leader who cannot govern his own emotions becomes a danger to himself and everyone around him. A leader who reacts emotionally becomes unpredictable. A leader who is easily offended becomes ineffective. A leader who is controlled by fear becomes powerless. A leader who is controlled by anger becomes destructive. Leadership begins within. The greatest form of leadership is self-leadership. And you cannot lead yourself if your emotions lead you. Let me show you the kingdom understanding. Leadership requires stability. Leadership requires consistency. Leadership requires clarity. Leadership requires composure. And emotional weakness undermines every one of those qualities. That is why God will never give you influence beyond the level of your inner government. He will not give you authority externally if you cannot maintain authority internally. The expansion of your leadership is limited by the strength of your emotional foundation. The kingdom grows through stable leaders. Leaders who govern their inner world with courage and discipline. Let me say this plainly. You are not ready to lead others until you can remain calm under pressure. You are not ready to lead others until you can stay steady in conflict. You are not ready to lead others until you can control your reaction when emotions rise. You are not ready to lead others until you can speak when necessary and stay silent when wisdom demands it. Emotional strength is not measured by how loudly you respond, but by how intentionally you respond. People often ask Dr. Munroe, what makes a great leader? And I always answer, a great leader is a person who can manage their emotions in the middle of storms, conflict, stress, and expectation. A leader does not follow the emotional climate. A leader sets the emotional climate. A thermometer reacts to the temperature. A thermostat regulates the temperature. Most people are thermometers. They rise and fall with the emotional climate around them. A kingdom leader is a thermostat. They bring calm into chaos, clarity into confusion, patience into pressure, order into disorder. Your emotional strength is not for you. It is for the people you are called to influence. People do not follow unstable leaders. People do not trust reactive leaders. People do not feel safe under fragile leaders. People do not grow under emotionally volatile leaders. The people around you are not looking for perfection. They are looking for predictability, for consistency, for composure, for strength, for character. Emotional strength is the backbone of trustworthy leadership. Let me show you this principle. Leadership magnifies whatever's inside you. If you are insecure, leadership magnifies insecurity. If you are angry, leadership magnifies anger. If you are impulsive, leadership magnifies impulsiveness. If you are offended easily, leadership magnifies the offense. But if you are disciplined, leadership magnifies discipline. If you are wise, leadership magnifies wisdom. If you are stable, leadership magnifies stability. This is why God trains leaders through pressure. Because pressure reveals what must be strengthened before he promotes you. Moses was trained in the desert so he would not panic in front of Pharaoh. Joseph was trained in prison so he would not react emotionally in the palace. David was trained with lions and bears so he would not fear Goliath. Jesus was tested in the wilderness so he could remain composed in the garden. God always trains leaders privately before he trusts them publicly. And the primary arena of training is always the emotional life. Let me give you a kingdom principle that will change your perspective. Influence without emotional strength becomes devastation. This is why many talented people fail. Not because they lack gifting, but because they lack self-government. You will destroy what you cannot emotionally handle. You will sabotage what you cannot emotionally sustain. You will mismanage what you cannot emotionally govern. Emotional strength is a form of stewardship. A strong leader can, listen, without reacting, correct without attacking you, receive criticism without collapsing, make decisions without panic, remain calm when others lose control, maintain order in the middle of chaos, persist when others quit. This is the emotional profile of a kingdom leader. Let me declare this over you. You were born to lead. Leadership is in your design. Dominion is in your DNA. Authority is in your assignment. But emotional strength is the foundation on which all of that stands. If you build emotional strength, your leadership influence will grow. If you lack emotional strength, your leadership influence will shrink. Not because God removed it, but because your inner world could not sustain it. So today, make a commitment to become emotionally strong. Not strong in aggression, but strong in composure. Not strong in reaction, but strong in regulation. Not strong in volume, but strong in vision. Not strong in feelings, but strong in identity. When you become emotionally strong, you become a leader people can trust. A leader people can follow. A leader people can learn from. This is how kingdom leadership develops emotional strength. This is how God promotes his leaders. This is how destiny is preserved. This is how purpose moves forward. Emotional mastery is leadership mastery. Lead yourself and you will lead others. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to maintain emotional control, you must learn to guard the gates of your mind, because your mind is not open land. It is royal territory. It is kingdom soil. It is the garden of God within you. And anything you allow into that garden will grow. You cannot have emotional purity while living with mental pollution. You cannot have emotional discipline while consuming mental garbage. You cannot have emotional strength while opening the gates to destructive input. Hear me. Your mind has gates, entry points, and whoever controls the gates controls your emotional life. If you do not protect the gates, you cannot protect the emotions. If you cannot protect your emotions, you cannot protect your destiny. There are 5 gates the kingdom citizen must guard with vigilance. 1. The eye gate. What you watch shapes what you feel. Your eyes are not passive. Your eyes are importing information into your subconscious all day long. Whatever you watch consistently becomes your emotional language. If you feed yourself violence, you become reactive. If you feed yourself perversion, you become unstable. If you feed yourself negativity, you become discouraged. Your eyes are the delivery system of your emotions. This is why David said, I will set no worthless thing before my eyes. He understood that whatever enters through the eyes eventually grows roots in the heart. Guard the eye gate. Your emotional stability depends on it. 2. The ear gate. What you listen to influences your inner climate. Words are not sound. Words are seeds. And every seed grows something in your emotional garden. If you constantly listen to complaining, you will feel burdened. If you constantly listen to gossip, you will feel polluted. If you constantly listen to fear, you will feel anxious. If you constantly listen to doubt, you will feel insecure. Your emotions are simply echoing the voices you consistently allow access. Faith comes by hearing, but so does fear. Confidence comes by hearing, but so does insecurity. Courage comes by hearing, but so does discouragement. You must guard the ear gate with the vigilance of a king protecting a throne. 3. The mouth gate. What you speak reinforces what you feel. Your words do not just express emotions, they shape them. You do not just say how you feel what you repeatedly say. Your speech is the thermostat of your emotional temperature. If you speak defeat, you will feel defeated. If you speak anger, you will feel angry. If you speak fear, you will feel afraid. If you speak bitterness, you will feel bitter. Your tongue is the steering wheel of your emotional life. This is why the Bible says death and life are in the power of the tongue. Not because words are poetic, but because words are creative forces. A kingdom citizen does not speak emotionally. They speak intentionally, purposefully, and with the authority of their identity. Guard your mouth, and you will guard your emotions. 4. The thought gate, what you meditate on, becomes your emotional identity. Your thoughts are not visitors. Your thoughts are architects. Whatever you meditate on shapes the blueprint of your emotional reality. Worry is meditation. Bitterness is meditation. Insecurity is meditation. Fear is meditation. But so is gratitude. So is purpose. So is vision. So is faith. Your emotional life is simply the harvest of your mental meditation. This is why the Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Because your emotions follow the direction of your meditation. Guard your thought gate. Do not entertain ideas that sabotage your emotional government. 5. The relationship gate. The people around you influence the person within you. You cannot maintain emotional maturity while living among emotionally immature people. You cannot stay disciplined while surrounded by undisciplined people. You cannot stay calm while surrounded by chaos. You cannot stay focused while surrounded by distracted people. Your relationships are not neutral. They are emotional environments. Some people are anchors. Some people are hurricanes. Some people are builders. Some people are destroyers. Some people bring stability. Some people bring storms. Let me give you a kingdom law. Whoever has access to your life has influence over your emotions. This is why Jesus chose his inner circle carefully. Not because he was exclusive, but because he was protective. Your destiny requires relational boundaries. You must protect the relationship gate with wisdom and courage. Why? You must guard the gates. Because the enemy cannot control your destiny, but he can influence your gates. He cannot invade your purpose, but he can infiltrate your emotions. He cannot rewrite God's plan, but he can interrupt your focus. He does not need to destroy you. He only needs to distract you. He only needs to provoke you. He only needs to fill your gates with emotional toxins until you lose clarity. A kingdom citizen does not wait for emotional sabotage to happen. They prevent it. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. You are the protector of your emotional garden. You are responsible for what enters and what stays out. If you guard the gates, you will guard the emotions. If you guard the emotions, you will guard the decisions. If you guard the decisions, you will guard the destiny. Your emotional world is too valuable to leave unprotected. Your purpose is too important to leave exposed. Your future is too significant to leave vulnerable. So today, rise up as the king or queen God created you to be. Stand at the gates of your mind with strength and diligence. Protect your peace. Protect your clarity. Protect your focus. Protect your purpose. Protect your calling. Because your destiny depends on the gates you guard. This is how kingdom citizens remain unshakable. This is how emotional mastery is sustained. This is how you walk in dominion every day of your life. guard the gates, and the gates will guard your future.